30 minutes late, but we are back.
Nobody has to know that I'm late.
Well, I mean, it's not live, but, you know.
That's right. I mean, to them, I'm right on time.
Okay, sounds good. So, how was your week, man?
It's good. Yours?
Wasn't bad. Did you watch anything new? Anything interesting?
Saw Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, yeah.
I got my prediction
Superb
right.
Owl.
I actually got it. I got it right.
Yeah.
Close game. Chiefs win.
Extra quarter. Is it a fifth? Do they become fifths if you go into overtime?
I don't know. For what I understand, they could even be sixth.
Yeah.
And they would go into another quarter after that.
I heard that.
Kyle Shanahan did not understand that, apparently.
Yeah, I heard that the 49ers players didn't understand the rules. Is that
Yeah. I feel like as a head coach, that's something you don't want to admit. Like, hey, my bad. I didn't understand the rules. By the way, I'm going to fire my defensive coordinator.
Wow. I mean, it was a good game. Best game I can remember.
Yeah.
In a while. And
it's only the second overtime Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a week ago. Nobody cares about football anymore.
No, they still care.
Well, actually, yeah. I guess people like football is like the biggest thing, but
yeah.
I think the 12 people that watch this show are mostly movie fans.
12? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, something like that so far. All right, let's talk about this episode. We're starting with dystopian movies and shows.
Yes. So let's talk about dystopia, right?
Yeah, how do you define dystopia?
Right. So, it's obviously the opposite of utopia, which is a wonderful place to live. Dystopia is something that has gone very wrong and caused the world to not be very nice to live in. And it could be a government thing, could be aliens, could be zombies.
Okay.
Lots of different things.
So I jotted down about 15 of my favorites. I figured we could just go back and forth.
Yeah.
And you want to fire away?
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
All right, I'll go first. 1989 version of Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
Because it only lasts one night. Humans, I think, don't get enough credit for how good we are at killing things. We have made entire species disappear by accident. So if you basically turn the rednecks loose on these zombies and said, hey, take care of this, by the next morning it would be over with for the zombies. There's an article, I forget, I think it might be from Cracked, where it's like why a zombie apocalypse would not be as successful for the zombies as you would think. It's because like meat rots, because like when it gets cold, meat freezes.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. All the things that keep you alive are what would prevent you from being an effective zombie. And I thought that Night of the Living Dead really showed that humans would quickly overcome the zombies just because they're so good and so
efficient
at
killers.
Killing.
Yeah,
yes.
That makes sense. I mean, usually your zombie apocalypse movies have these things lasting years, decades.
Right.
And mainly because they create new zombies, right? They basically reproduce by biting you.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it makes sense like why zombies might rot away, but if they're making new zombies, then that just kind of kills that idea.
But the Walking Dead universe, it was like zombies that would last a really long time. Remember the governor had all those like heads in a aquarium? You know how quick they would just dissolve?
But they were in like water or something, right? But the thing with The Walking Dead is that it's not that you are bitten and become a zombie. It's that you are already a zombie and you haven't died yet.
Yeah.
So once you die, you become a zombie.
That's
That's
true.
An entirely different scenario where like once you die, there's a brand new one there.
Would you want to be alive in a scenario like The Walking Dead where there's zombies or would you just be like, all right, whatever, bite me, dude? Like,
I mean, what kind of life is that, really?
Right. I mean, it's like people who exercise. I would rather die young than exercise. Come on.
I mean, there's something
Fuck
to be
vegetables.
said for that. Yeah.
All right, what you got?
All right, my first one on my list, I don't know if you've seen this, A Clockwork Orange.
I have not seen it. It's one of those movies I've owned for a long time.
Yeah?
I bought it probably 10 years ago on Blu-ray. And then recently I was scanning all my codes into Vudu and I added it to my digital library. But I've never watched it. I've heard things about it. It's mostly one of those things where they talk about how crazy it is. But tell me, what's kind of the premise?
So society has gone to hell, right?
Okay.
So, and they've got these delinquents running around doing whatever they want whenever they want, and this is a movie about those delinquents, specifically one of the delinquents. They've invented their own language. Like they kind of speak in like a weird Russian English mix. Like I've read the book and seen the movie, and they're just all they care about is being violent. So they just run around and do whatever they want whenever they want, and then eventually what happens is I think the government gets a hold of the main character, and they're like, hey, let's study this guy. Let's figure out why he does what he does. And by studying, you get the famous scene of like the eyes being,
oh yeah,
like and he's like watching violent scenes and seeing how he reacts or whatever. It's pretty interesting. It's Stanley Kubrick. So I think it's a solid dystopian flick, right? It's about a society that has gone amok, and it's trying to figure out and understand the reason why people might be violent and that sort of thing.
Are you a Stanley Kubrick fan in general?
I do like Stanley Kubrick. Yeah.
So I just recently watched Space Odyssey for the first time. That was way better than I thought.
Oh, so good.
It doesn't really fit like the 3-act format. You know what I mean? It's kind of like long and meandering, a slow burn, but I like those kind of movies. Visually, I couldn't believe this movie was from like the 60s or whatever.
Yeah.
Looked amazing.
Shining, of course.
Shining.
Another Kubrick movie.
That's another one. I've only seen it a couple of times, and it's been probably like a decade. I mean, I get the gist of it. I probably should rewatch it. I just watched the one that they made that's a prequel called Dr. Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good. I don't know why I don't rewatch The Shining more. Maybe I'm afraid it's going to drive me crazy. But
all work and no play make Derek a dull boy.
I watched this great video from Louis C.K. He was talking on some podcast about how that movie is from the perspective of the house. It's like a long-term perspective of the house.
Yeah.
Like when it's following the kid on the bike and things like that, and it's like showing the paintings and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how much validity there is to that, but Louis C.K. actually has some pretty good movie takes.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to give you my next one. This is one that it's kind of it's end of the world, but it's kind of like an end of the world prequel. The Thing. John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. I know there's an earlier version, but that's the version that I like the best. Yeah. I like how it opens up with 10,000 years ago and it shows the UFO landing. To me, that's the best music of any kind of suspense movie. That doom 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 doom. It's like a very slow. It fits the Arctic environment. I don't know, something about it, and the way that it ends, where you don't know if either one of them is an alien or the Thing. I think is a great ending.
Yeah,
I didn't care for the prequel that they just released like a year later or a year ago or 2. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago now. I didn't care for it, but the original, or not the original, the original remake of The Thing, John Carpenter.
So is that a dystopia, or is that
it's
the world?
Well, so I think so. It's you've got this alien loose that's
that's more like an alien horror movie, right? Like,
well, I mean, it's why it's kind of like a prequel to the.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, it's like right before.
To me, that is not an ideal scenario to live in.
It is not ideal, right? So for me, dystopia is like the stuff has already happened.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll keep that. So we're gonna cross off Terminators because those are kind of prequels.
I think Terminators actually is a good example, but it's kind of like one of those hybrid movies where it also covers time travel,
right?
And you have a dystopia and a pre-dystopia because Terminator's going back to try to stop this thing that's going to happen. The AI is taking over, right?
And Terminator 1 it's not really, it doesn't fit the superhero, because I kind of had that listed in my superhero thing, but the more I think about it, it's just a hero movie, because he was not a superhuman or anything.
Well, he's a cyborg.
Terminator 1, the guy who comes back is Kyle Reese.
Oh, okay.
And he's a human. And then Terminator 2, it's like robot versus robot, so it's superhero versus supervillain.
Gotcha.
All right, what do you got next?
All right, so I talked about dystopia being the stuff has already happened, and there is one series of movie that epitomizes that, and that is the Mad Max.
So I wrote down Mad Max Fury Road because to me, I just watched that recently.
So good.
I was blown away. I was like, how did I wait so long? But give me your thoughts on the Mad Max movies.
So the earlier Mad Max movies are the Mel Gibson, Thunderdome, that sort of thing. Those are pretty good, but they're like very dated. If you watch them now, you're kind of like, yeah, this is
pre-Holocaust denial from Mel Gibson.
This is very this is very 80s, right? The very 80s feel to it. But Fury Road, I mean, like, just nails it. And it's the same guy. It's George Miller, right? So he's doing the same story. It's just carried on with now Furiosa, which is going to be a new movie about her with Anya Joy Taylor, right? So
okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Furiosa movie, but the Mad Max Fury Road with all the factions warring, and they've got different control over like water and resources and stuff, and it really was well done the way they have that whole society kind of orchestrated there.
It really it felt like one of those ones that could happen. It
Yeah,
felt a little
yeah.
bit
Other than like the weird like the spray paint kids.
but the water, like running out of water.
Yeah, running out of water, having a warlord that takes the water over, and like he's got all these minions, and
Yeah.
it's like a cult almost. But yeah, very, very stylistically awesome.
I've got a slow burn for you
Yeah?
that we actually saw together many, many years ago. Children of Men
God, that's so good.
with Clive Owen.
So
where
good. One of my
if you
favorites.
if you haven't seen it, women can't have babies anymore.
Yes.
And then randomly there's one baby
one.
born.
Yep.
And it's about protecting. And I thought it was Michael Caine's like one of his best roles as it's a small role, but he's kind of like this I think he was a scientist.
Yeah.
And he was kind of locked away. He was kind of a recluse, and he was also related to the main character in some way. And I haven't watched it in a while, but outstanding movie.
It's interesting. Movies like that are movies that you watch, and you're like, man, this is so good. But then you're like, I don't want to watch that again.
Yeah.
I don't like how it makes me feel. Right.
Yeah.
Like another one that does that for me is Requiem for a Dream.
Oh yeah, that's a good
So good, but also like, man, I can't do that again. That's just too much.
Yeah, that one nailed addiction. Like if you've ever known addicts or people who are just like, have some kind of psychosis because of drug use or whatever. Yeah, it nailed it. All right, you got another one?
I do. I got lots.
Okay, let's keep going. I've got a whole list.
12 Monkeys.
So I just recently watched that. It was good, but I wasn't sure that I understood it completely.
It's a loop, if you think about it. Beginning and end. Like,
So it's kind
you
of
could
like
basically
a Nolan
pick it up
movie.
again.
It's kind of like a little bit of a Nolan story.
Yeah. So it's like at beginning and end, you could basically pick up from the end where you left off and start it again from the beginning.
Okay.
And you could just keep watching it on a loop. But it's basically about society is about to end because there's this guy who's got this virus and he's going to unleash it on the world. And you've got someone trying to stop him. And he's, I guess, Bruce Willis, right? Cut in a mental institution. And they think he's crazy. But is he crazy? Maybe it's all in his head. It's one of those movies where like there's a lot going on that you have to watch it multiple times to really catch on. Like Interstellar is similar to that, right?
Interstellar is another one on my list. I'm glad you mentioned it. That one, the ending just it threw it off for me. And there were too many things about that movie. I love the movie. I love how beautiful it is. The outdoor scenes, like the space scenes, the
Interstellar.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of taking an off ramp here, I mean, but the story, I don't know, the writing just seemed a little, I don't know, it wasn't Nolan's best writing.
I liked it. It was not just about World's End, right? It's also about another time travel thing,
Yeah.
right? Another like black holes being a portal to other times, right? Finding his way back to his daughter somehow,
Yeah.
even though he's way off in the future somewhere. Because he's gone off to try to save the world, and he's not really doing it.
All right, what about this one? Tell me about The Matrix. When did you first see The Matrix?
I saw it when it first came out, and it still holds up. The first one.
The first one, yes. The rest of them, I think, suck.
The rest of them, I did not like. I thought they were and actually, this problem kind of takes over in the first one as well. They do a lot of telling you what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't show you. They're just like, yes, and I am the architect, and I design everything, and I will design this thing. And it's just like, okay, yeah, I get it. Just show me. Don't tell me.
The most recent one, there was this storyline that they talked about, but they didn't show, about how there was an agreement between the machines and the humans to like end the war. And I'm like, that'd have been a good movie to show. That'd have been a nice one in the middle here.
Why don't you show me that? Like,
Yeah.
show me that part. Like, do it as a flashback, even. But
There's a great animated Matrix story called The Animatrix. Have you ever seen that?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Oh, it's
because
worth
after I
watching.
saw the second one, I just basically swore off anything Matrix.
Yeah, it's really good. It's kind of like a prequel. Let me throw this one at you too. Planet of the Apes.
The Planet of the
like,
Apes series, yeah.
Series. I like Rise of the Planet of the Apes the best, but
Yeah, I like the latest versions of that. So the early one's really good for its campiness, like the Charlton Heston,
yeah.
damn you apes, right? Then you had like the Tim Burton one, which kind of sucked.
Oh
honestly.
yeah, I
Like the
hated
Mark
that.
Wahlberg one.
Oh yeah,
Right?
I don't even think of Tim Burton for that. Is Wahlberg.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, and Helena Bonham Carter as like one of the apes. Anyway, did not like that one too much. But the Rise of the Planet of the Apes with James
Franco.
Franco, that whole series has been really solid. Like it's been really well done. They've been progressing it really well. I liked having the origin of how this all happened. Right?
Yeah,
Like how did we get these talking apes? Right?
yeah. There's a new one coming out. I think it's called Conquest or something like
Something
that.
like that. Yeah.
It's one. So there was like 10 of the original.
Yeah.
And they're just basically remaking them with better CGI. I love those. All right, what else you got?
Well, I got a list, and it's actually not on my list, but I actually thought about it just now when we were talking about Planet of the Apes and Charlton Heston. Soylent Green.
Never heard of it.
So have you ever seen the Saturday Night Live skit where he does the Charlton Heston impersonation? And he goes, "Soylent Green is people."
I'm sorry, I never saw it.
All right, if you haven't seen it, look it up.
Doesn't make for a great discussion there.
Well, anyway, this is a movie about a dystopia where they're feeding these people, this thing called Soylent, and everybody loves it. They eat it all the time. And then they find out the horrible secret that it is actually people, right?
Oh.
They're being fed people, and they don't know. They're not telling them. And it's like one of those like so bad it's good movies.
Yeah.
Like it's not one of those things where you're like, man, I really gotta rewatch this, right? But you're like, oh, this is hilarious because it's so bad.
I've got a great dad joke for you. You can say, I don't like the term cannibal. I prefer humanitarian.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good. Another good one. Another good dad joke. Why don't cannibals eat clown? Or why don't clowns eat cannibal? Or yeah, why don't cannibals eat clowns?
Go for it.
Because they taste funny.
That's pretty good. So TV show. I don't know if you have any TV shows left. Listed.
Yeah, I got plenty of them.
Falling Skies. Did you ever see that one?
I did not see that one.
So it's a Spielberg produced movie about aliens coming and basically they destroy Earth. And there's a couple of, it's kind of like The Walking Dead, but with aliens, right? It got really bad in about the 4th season, but the first 3 seasons are tremendously acted, really great characters, really great storylines.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it lasted 4 or 5 seasons, but the last couple were stupid. They ended up going to the moon and stuff. It was stupid, but they had some really good. There was like a biker gang, that survived the apocalypse. It was just really cool.
Another series for you, Silo.
Silo. I've heard things about that, but I've never seen it.
So the premise here is that the world has ended, and they've built these silos underground, and they've got this society living in the silos, right? And honestly, the first season is basically about a silo. You don't know there's multiple silos yet, so I probably spoiled it for everyone. Sorry, but yeah, like they're living in this community. There's about 10,000 of them in there. They've got very rigid set of instructions, and it's almost cult-like. It's very much like we don't know why the silo was built, and we worship the silo, right? It's got Tim Robbins in it. He's one of the
I like Tim Robbins.
main characters. He's really good. It's got Common in it. He does a good job. But yeah, it's about this woman who's trying to figure out who killed her boyfriend, and she starts to uncover a lot of secrets about the silo and why it's there and that sort of thing. So pretty solid series.
All right.
Yeah, we definitely. I think there's another season coming out of it, but yeah, the first season was really solid. Apple TV, I think, has it.
All right, I'll give it a shot. We talked about Logan on our previous one. That's obviously fantastic.
Yeah.
Don't want to spend too much time on it because we talked about it. Last of Us, I think we mentioned briefly. I think that series was pretty good, but the one that stood out, the one-off episode with Nick Offerman.
Yeah, the couple.
Just the way that was done. I would have watched a movie about that.
Yeah, it's really good.
I hope there's more stuff like that because the girl's a little annoying. But
he didn't like Bella Ramsey.
Yeah, but I thought in general the series was good. I think we've covered a lot of the ones I have. I have Bird Box, The Road, The Independence Day.
Road is another one of those that you watch once, like, man, this is really good. I can't watch it again.
Viggo Mortensen is just so
Cannot
good.
watch it again.
Yeah. Let's see if I have anything else yet we haven't talked about. Obviously, with Walking Dead, A Quiet Place. Those are pretty dope.
Those are pretty solid.
And there's a new one coming out.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I'm like, do we really need more?
Yeah, I feel like, it was so unique, so original. The first one, if you left it stand alone, I think it goes down as an all-timer.
Yeah.
But the second one,
Yeah, I mean, you made a lot of money from it, but it's
I can't imagine the third one being much better.
Yeah. Book of Eli.
I have not heard of that.
It's got Denzel Washington in it, and he is a lone traveler in this wasteland,
Huh.
and he's carrying a very important thing with him.
Is his name Eli or is it the book?
His name is Eli, and
It's got a book.
he's got a book. He's carrying it.
Figured out the plot.
No, it's much better than that. It's got Gary Oldman,
Oh man, you can't go wrong with Gary Oldman.
and it's got Mila Kunis. She does a actually really good job in this. Like,
I like her.
I like her.
She was great in Ted.
She was great in a lot of things.
Yeah,
But
she's great in bed.
I don't know that. Do not know that. So, but yeah, like it's a solid movie. I don't want to give too much away because it does have one of those really twisty endings, right? Like you figure out a lot about the character. You figure out what's about, a lot about the book.
Yeah.
Like the book is a character basically in this movie. But yeah, solid flick, solid end of the world. Things are going bad for us.
The last one I have is The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh yeah, that's another one of those.
Because that kind of almost feels realistic.
Yeah, it feels pretty. There's a lot of like references. It's similar to like 1984. Like everyone likes to cite 1984, but everybody who cites that usually has never read it.
Yeah. I watched the first, I guess, 2 seasons of The Handmaid's Tale. I haven't finished it. I feel like it was just a little too close to reality for me at the time, and it was kind of like how you watch some and you're like, eh.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a little break.
Yeah. Yeah. That one definitely hits close to home sometimes.
That's my list. So what else you got?
I've got a series we just finished, and it's another season coming out of this. It's called Severance.
Oh, that's
It's Adam Scott.
yes. It was like a office world or something.
So it's interesting. So these people have chosen this elective surgery that implants a chip in their brain.
Okay.
And it allows them to live a separate life outside of work from work. So they go into work, they get in an elevator. While they're in the elevator, the chip activates, and now they're an entirely different person. They call them innies. And the outies are the people who live on the outside. And one of the things you have to think about is, why would anyone do that? Well, there's a lot of backstories to these people why they're doing it. So that's a good part of it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really solid.
Is it a comedy or is it like a dark?
There's some funny things in it, but it's very dark and it's very dystopian because there's a deeper story to the chips being implanted. And it is a cult basically inside. Like there's this character named Keir, and he's like the head, I guess, figurehead or whatever, like a religious figurehead. And they all like have these like things they cite, these quotes they use. They have a whole Bible like book, the handbook.
Nice.
For the employees. The work they do, we have no idea why they're doing the work. We don't think the work's stupid. It's like they're in a lab, a computer lab, and they're dragging numbers into a bucket. And it's like if you do that and complete it, you get perks like finger torturers or like pens or like it's.
That sounds very realistic
But it's very good.
Yeah.
It gets very dark. It's got Patricia Arquette.
I didn't know she was still alive.
She's still alive, and she does a fantastic job as one of the bosses.
Okay.
She is insane.
All right, that's going to that. So
Yeah.
a lot of people say, I'm going to add that to my list. They have like, oh, I'm going to add that to my list. I have an actual list right here.
He added it. It's on his list.
So
Guys, he added it.
Severance.
Let's get a hand. He added it to his list. Snowpiercer. Have you seen this?
I have not seen Snowpiercer.
All right, so there's a show and there's a movie. I have not seen the show because I refuse to watch shows of movies that I like. Snowpiercer is got Chris Evans in it.
Love Chris Evans.
And Chris Evans is a passenger on a train that is circling this frozen planet because the world has ended, and this is the only way they can really survive this harsh climate.
That sounds like it sucks.
Does not suck.
No, I mean like the actual
yeah.
situation.
So on the train, there's a caste system basically. The end of the train is all the poors. The front of the train is all the richers.
I hope the train has bathrooms because
the train is a bathroom essentially, but he works his way up the train in a very violent way to try to take out
like Bullet Train.
It's like the Train to Busan is like the base.
Okay, that was a good one.
It's based on that.
Okay.
Right, and I think it's very well done, very dark. Chris Evans is great in it. I forget who the evil lady is, but she's a pretty famous actress as well. But good movie. Like I said, I didn't see the series. I thought dragging that out would be kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Because it's a train.
Okay.
Like, how much can you really get out of it? Right.
All right. You got
All right, I'm gonna add one weird one, old one. A Boy and His Dog.
Never heard of it.
So this is Don Johnson,
That's old.
like when he's like 18.
Oh wow. How old is that? That's
It's like the 70s, late 70s, maybe early 80s, and he's traveling the world that's been destroyed with a dog that he can telepathically communicate with.
kind of like, well, except for the telepathy, it's kind of like the Will Smith one, I Am Legend. That's another good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. But he's roaming the world, and then but what he doesn't realize is under the world is where all the high society has camped out.
Okay.
And they kidnap him and bring him down, and they show him all this stuff, and he's like, "Oh, this is really cool down here." But they've really grabbed him to basically harvest his seed.
It doesn't sound so bad.
Oh, it's bad because they hook you up to a machine.
I mean, depends on the machine.
Yeah, but it's like basically you're like a Matrix thing, right? But anyway, there's like android cops, and it's weird. It's bizarre. It's worth seeing once, I think.
All right, let's move on now that we've gotten through Seed.
And then one more before we go. Fallout's coming out, right, on Amazon.
Yeah,
that's gonna be good, right? You know, you ever played the video game series?
Yeah, I played the video games.
Yeah, so the Amazon series Fallout's coming out in like a year or so.
Okay, cool. So top 5 superhero movies and shows. I figure we'll go back and forth and count down. So what do you got as your number 5?
Oh man, I don't know if I can rank them because there's different things. Right?
All right, well,
we'll just go like yeah. All right, so I've recently rewatched some series. One of them I rewatched is The Punisher.
Okay, that's the one on
the John Bernthal.
Okay,
not the movies. The movies are trash.
Yeah, I didn't like the movies.
But the John Bernthal. I don't know if you've ever seen him in other things. Have you seen...
Oh yeah, he was in like The Walking Dead.
Yeah, he was Shane in The Walking Dead. He was in that Tank movie with Brad Pitt.
He was in a great movie with Ben Affleck called The Accountant.
This guy's a great actor.
Yeah.
Like he's intense.
From around here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he's the Punisher, and the show is about. It kind of picks up after where he left off in Daredevil, and he was in Daredevil season 2.
Okay.
Which is on the list as well, but further up. So he's basically trying to figure out who killed his family, and he's killing his way to the top, finding out who killed his family. He finds out who was really responsible.
Trope. Always a fun trope.
It is. It's like, Liam Neeson, but way, way bloodier, I feel like. But yeah, it's really well done series. I think, hopefully they keep continuing that story arc. They're planning on bringing him into the Marvel Universe, of course, so that'll be good. What's yours?
I'm going to start with The Boys.
The Boys is solid.
Yeah, I just think that's very much how it would go if there were real superheroes.
Yeah, it would.
I mean, we assume that superheroes would also have super morality, but there's nothing that says that would be true, right? I mean, if I were Superman, if I discovered one day I were Superman, there's no way that if somebody pissed me off, I wouldn't eye laser their face. You know what I mean? Like if someone was rude to you and they didn't realize that you had laser beams for eyes, wouldn't you laser beam their head?
I mean, it depends, because what you have to realize is that these superheroes aren't didn't get their powers through, accidents. They didn't get their powers from birth. They were injected. They gave them this serum, right?
Well, Homelander's son, he has it from birth.
He does, but he's messed up for a different reason. The boys are messed up because they've been raised from birth to be these things, and like. Homelander's got issues, like serious issues. Like, I mean, he is an all-time great asshole. Like, he is just the worst.
The ending of season 2 is one of the greatest endings of any show I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it, like, there's this big rally against. I forget who they were rallying against, but. It wasn't against Homelander, was it?
They were rallying against Soups, I think, and he just loses it.
So someone threw, maybe it was like a sandwich or a drink or something. It hits his son in the face, and he just laser beams the guy right in the face and destroys him and blows him up. And the crowd goes wild, goes nuts, and that's where the meme comes from. Where he's just, I loved it. I got to rewatch it.
Yeah, it's that Stormfront character. Oh man,
yeah.
She did get what she had coming to her, but
that's a great character.
It's a great character.
All right, what else you got?
All right, so I mentioned Daredevil. I love
Daredevil.
That series is the best superhero series I've ever seen. Like, it's just perfect for like the material,
Well acted.
well acted, good characters. Season 2 I felt like was really good, but my problem was it tried to squeeze too much in because they had the Punisher storyline and then they had the Elektra storyline, and those are really big storylines, and they try to keep them in the same season.
Yeah.
Other than that, awesome.
Okay. My next is it's just a goody classic, The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
I saw that at midnight showing, first day that it came out. I remember with our buddy Steve Clark from baseball. You remember
I remember
Clark?
Steve.
Yeah, 2008. And I just remember feeling like the movie kept escalating. I feel like that's the tone of the movie. It's escalation. You know, it goes from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And it never stopped. Obviously, Heath Ledger's, his, what's the word? His greatest movie.
Masterpiece.
His masterpiece. His magnum opus, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but just a fantastic performance. He won the Oscar. I thought Christian Bale was better in that than he was in Batman Begins and in Dark Knight Rises. It was just peak. It was just peak Batman for me. And I was at the perfect age to consume it. I didn't love, again, the way the ending was written with the two boats, and it's like, these people are ready to show you that they're ready to be good. Like I didn't love that. I just thought it would have been great if Joker just blew up both boats, and that's what I expected to happen because like they had set you up to believe that. All right, if he says he's going to blow up a hospital, he's not going to really blow up a hospital. Then he blows up a hospital. So it's like, what's a couple of boats? I expected him to actually do it, and then it's just like, Batman saved it. But to me, that's the greatest performance from any superhero villain ever, and that's
it was definitely really solid. Like, the Joker's been done and redone and redone.
Yeah,
and Batman's been done and redone and redone. Right, so. But as far as Jokers go, he'd probably be the top one. Joaquin Phoenix also,
he was great,
really good Joker.
That's a very natural, realistic mental health kind of.
It was. It didn't feel like a superhero movie. It felt more like a mental health movie.
Have you heard about the new one, Folie à Deux, with Lady Gaga?
It's a musical.
It's a musical.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that one, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm willing to see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see it. We should go see it opening night and just see, full crowd. But I have a feeling I don't like musicals in general. Like, I just don't like them.
I don't like them in general. There are some that I really like.
Willy Wonka is a good musical, right?
Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay.
I really like that.
But there's so
Todd.
few informed. I've never seen Sweeney Todd because it was a musical.
But you need to see it.
Okay. But it's
about murder.
I feel like 1 out of every 10 musicals I can tolerate.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, I am not a big fan of musicals, but there are a few that I will sit through because they are entertaining.
All right. What else you got?
For me, like, Thor Ragnarok on the top of the list. It does such a great job with humor and entertainment and action, and it's got this whole space thing going on. Jeff Goldblum's awesome in it. The cast is awesome. It's a take on the World War Hulk, or like Planet Hulk.
Yeah,
where he basically they shoot off the Hulk into space. So in the movie, he goes on his own. He leaves because he's like, I'm such a bad guy. I'm destructive. In the comic books, the Avengers have decided the Hulk is a threat. They ship him off to space. He lands on this planet called Sakaar, which is the same in the movie, and he becomes a barbarian, and he eventually takes over the planet, has a kid, which you see in She-Hulk. He makes an appearance. And then what happens differently in the books versus the show is, in the books, the Hulk gets mad because the Avengers basically kicked him off the planet.
Okay.
So he comes back and gets revenge. So that's World War Hulk, where he's basically just taking it out on all the heroes and just beating them.
I loved it because it changed the direction of those Thor movies. Like the first Thor movie was all right.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's Kenneth Branagh.
Second one was like Dark Planet. Or
I didn't like Dark World.
Dark World, yeah.
It was.
I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, it was like on the lower tier for me of movies.
But when they flipped the script and decided, all right, we're going to make Thor the comic relief, right? Yeah. And for this entire saga, he's going to be the comic relief. And let's begin with Ragnarok. Like, that was a great decision, and they executed it perfectly.
Love and Thunder, they tried to do it again, and I don't think they recaptured the magic.
We saw that, right?
Yeah,
I didn't love that.
I liked it. I didn't love it. I loved the goats. The goats were hilarious.
I don't remember
the screaming goats.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but like, you're right. I mean, like you take Thor, who's like this mythology character. You can either have him be dry and boring, like in the first one, where he's like, "Thou art shall," or you could have him be funny, and like a guy who's basically out of his place. He is out of his place. He's out of his element. When he's on Earth, it's not Asgard, right?
Right.
So he needs to be funny because otherwise he's gonna be really boring.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought that was done really well. My next one is actually the Avengers.
Yeah.
I just think that was a totally different experience, like seeing that movie come together, all those superheroes on screen at the same time. We'd never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
Just I don't want to say production quality, but I mean, it was just like, the level of like the floating ship and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Like it was just next level. It just felt so much beyond any other superhero stuff that we'd ever gotten.
See, what Marvel did correctly was before they got to the Avengers, they developed the characters.
Yeah.
You got Iron Man 1 and 2. You got Thor. You got Captain America. You got to know these characters. Black Widow was introduced in these movies before you met her in the Avengers. Whereas DC was like, man, that made a lot of money.
Yeah.
We got to do something like that. All right, let's do Superman and Batman, and then we're going to make Justice League where you meet everyone else. And it's like, okay, why? Right?
Here's the thing about the DC is, so we've got this really great Joker movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't fit in with any of the other Batman or anything. And then you've got this great Batman with Robert Pattinson,
Yep.
and it's got a different Joker
Yep.
with the kid from Saltburn. Like nothing fits together. It just feels like all these individual. I mean, that's fine for like comic books and stuff like that, but I would love to see them, I don't know, either start fresh and build properly a Batman universe, DC universe, Superman, all that stuff. Take some time. Like take a couple of years away from releasing anything, and then start fresh with like. I loved how they approached it with Man of Steel and Batman Begins. Like origin stories based in reality, but with just enough superhero-ishness to make it believable. Yeah.
And I think what they've done to try to fix some of that is with the Flash movie.
Yeah.
They've introduced this concept of, multiverse, just like Marvel has, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you get around having weird storylines, because now it's like they're not different movies, they're different universes, they're different dimensions, right? So they'll probably use that to fix some of this. You saw it with the latest Marvels movie. Like, did you see the Marvels?
Oh yeah. So with
With
what's her name, Brie Larson.
And then you got Imani Vellon.
I didn't love it.
Yeah, it was all right. It was entertaining. But they did introduce another universe, right?
Yeah.
Now you're basically like, oh, okay, that's how you're going to get the X-Men. So
I'm so tired of all the multiverse shit. Like it's too much to keep up with,
Well, for me, like growing up with comics and like seeing movies like, I don't know, the original Captain America, or like all the trash superhero movies they came up with, and like wishing they would come up with good movies, and they finally do. I'm just like living it, man. Like I'm like, this is great. Like keep bringing it for me. Like I some of it's trash. Like I'm not gonna see Madam Web. That looks really bad. I still haven't seen Morbius.
I didn't like Blue Beetle. I thought Blue
Beetle's all right. I mean, it was worth seeing. I thought James Gunn's. I think he's gonna right the ship.
That'd be nice.
I like what he's doing with the Superman story. So we'll see how that goes.
What is he doing with the Superman story?
So he's basically taking on Superman from like this all-star Superman perspective, I think, and he's gonna make him a younger Superman. I don't think he's going origin story. I think he's going Superman as a young man learning how to be Superman.
So kind of like that TV show. What was it called? Smallville.
Like Smallville. They're gonna have a Supergirl. So they're gonna introduce that. We'll see how it goes. I think it's gonna be good. He's probably gonna use a lot of lesser known characters like he does in the Marvel universe too. So he did the Peacemaker series, of course.
Okay.
So he did that. I think that character was fun. Like I thought John Cena did a great job with that. So yeah, I think that he's gonna do a good job with the DC universe, but we'll see.
All right, what else you got?
So Kick-Ass.
Oh, damn, I forgot about Kick-Ass. I regret not having that on my list.
So Kick-Ass was really good.
Yeah.
It's super violent. And it's like outside of that whole Marvel DC thing. It's Mark Miller's book based on, this girl who's a superhero, and she's fighting because I guess she's, been trained by her father, who's also a vigilante.
Yeah.
And in the movie, he's played by Nicolas Cage. One of Nicolas Cage's finer performances, I think. But he's basically a Batman type of character, but he's like crappy Batman.
All right.
He's not nearly as good as Batman. But she's awesome. She's a ninja, basically. And then you've got this regular dude whose power is he can take a beating.
Yeah. Have you seen American Ultra
Yes.
with Jesse Eisenberg?
Yeah, that was good.
One of the few things that Jesse Eisenberg is actually good in.
Yeah.
But I like that kind of story. I've got Iron Man on here. The original Iron Man, to me, is my second to top superhero movie.
That was really well done. They captured the Iron Man, Tony Stark essence, I think, in
the
that.
fun, like, it was just so fun. You know what I mean? Like, you go to a movie and, there's all the whiz bang and there's, different arcs and all that stuff, but the whole package to me just fit really well together. It was the right balance of everything.
Yep. Very good.
Last one. All right, you got any more?
Yeah, so there's a movie called Super. And it's got Rainn Wilson, Dwight from The Office.
Yeah, I know Rainn.
So think about Dwight from The Office as a superhero.
I can't imagine that.
So so it doesn't fit in your mind.
What's it on?
I don't know what
is it. Just a movie?
It's a movie. It's I don't know what platform it's on, but basically he is a guy who decides he wants to fight crime. He's not particularly good at it.
It's going on the list.
It's got Elliot Page as his sidekick. He basically recruits this young kid to be his sidekick, almost like a Batman and Robin thing, right? Regular dude, regular girl or guy at this point, right? So like, it's like, it's really dark. It does not go well for them, I'll just say, but yeah, it's a solid movie. I think it was really well done.
For me, we already talked about my number one several times, Unbreakable.
Yeah.
To me, it's based in reality, very, very cool. But I also have a couple other honorable mentions. I think like the Infinity War and Endgame, to me, they're two movies, but they're one story.
Yeah, it's long.
It's like a 4-hour thing or 5-hour thing that they split.
That was a slow burn.
Yeah, but I think it was really, really well done. And the Ninja Turtles movie from the 90s.
The 90s?
Yeah, or from the early 90s.
Oh, good.
The first one.
Not the second one with the vanilla ice.
That was Secret,
go Ninja, go Ninja, go!
Yeah, Secret of the Ooze. Now, the original movie I thought was great. I haven't seen the new Ninja Turtles.
I hear the new one's really good. I saw like the 2000s version, the animated version. That was pretty good. But the turtles in general, I think, are fun. They're like ridiculous.
They're funny.
They're like mutated turtles that can be ninjas.
And I like pizza. I can relate with it.
I mean, pizza's awesome.
Pizza's fantastic. I haven't eaten yet today. I was gonna have spaghetti today, so on days I do that, I wait until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'll eat one meal, and that'll be it for the day.
Oh yeah.
And so it's actually, I feel like it's pretty good for me because it's a big meal, it fills me up, but I don't eat a lot during the day.
Oh yeah.
And obviously a shout out to the '89 Batman, the original. That was the first superhero movie that I can remember seeing. It was, obviously one of the best Batman. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but the performance by Jack Nicholson was fantastic.
Second best Joker.
Dance with the Devil in a Pale Moonlight.
Well, second best movie Joker. I think Mark Hamill's as
good.
Joker.
As the
probably one of the best animated, and also in the video game, the Arkham Knight series.
What we should do when we talk about the next section, which is Batman, we should talk about the animated Batman.
Yes, we should.
Batman. All right, let's get to that. That.
Dudes.
So, best and worst Batmen, and when I say that, not just like the actor or the character, but like the movie, the series, like the whatever. So to me, I mean, we talked about '89, fantastic, but I really, really loved the Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones Batman Forever.
Oh yeah,
it was just
you were like one of the very few that
I
like
know
that
a lot
one.
of people hate that. I thought it was fun. I was a big Jim Carrey fan.
Did you like the Schwarzenegger, Mr. Freeze?
I didn't like that. Everything freezes. And then George Clooney with the nipples was
I
awful.
put you on ice.
She's trying to kill you, Dick. I was actually watching that I was at the dentist office, and I had to wait for like 45 minutes, and the George Clooney Batman one was on.
With the bat nipples.
I got kind of hooked. I was like, God, I'm interested in this. I
That's-
want to keep watching.
They're one of those that are so bad they're good. Like
Yeah.
it's like they were pretty. They kind of called back to the old '60s campiness.
Yeah.
Like
and it's still a Batman movie. It's still,
it is.
You know?
Like Burton went dark, right? So like the original Batman in like the '60s was like fun, pow, zap, boom, right? And then Burton went dark, and that's kind of like what set the tone for the future Batman movies of darkness, right? Because he's a dark dude. You got to be a crazy guy to go around in underwear and beating up people, right? And then Schumacher was like, no. He's fun. We're going to make him fun again, right? So then they made him fun again. But then Nolan, of course, and then, Pattinson's Batman, that sort of thing. So.
Give me your thoughts on Pattinson's Batman, because I went and saw it with my buddy Rob, and he made a comment immediately afterwards that I thought was great. He actually made two comments that I thought were great. The first was, this is the most guy in a suit Batman ever, where it's just a guy who threw on a suit and is just out there fighting. Like a rich guy who invented this suit or whatever. He doesn't seem to have like a whole lot of ninja experience.
No, he didn't train like Nolan's Batman.
Bat wing or anything like that. Yeah. He's just a guy. And then the second one was, why does everything have to be end of the world, destroy everyone? Like, just give me a villain like the Riddler was killing people. Like, you could just have Batman trying to figure out who the Riddler is.
Yeah.
For the whole movie.
Have it be a detective. A true detective movie.
Exactly, because Batman is known as being a detective. And I do think that there was some great detective elements in that.
Yeah.
I loved how they had the contacts. I thought that was a great way to introduce some of his technology. I thought the journaling was fun. Like year 2, and he's describing, how when they see the signal, people hide all over the city just from fear of Batman. But I just want to see him try and stop a maniac. To me, that was kind of like the genius of The Dark Knight, which was you had this maniac in the Joker that would do anything. He'd blow up a hospital. He'd just, kill at random. I want Batman to hunt down just a supervillain. Everything doesn't have to be, we're going to nuke the city. We're going to blow up the world. Like, it doesn't have to be that high of stakes.
And to blow a hole in the whole Dark Knight thing, he wasn't even a detective in that. He needed like this surveillance system.
Well, he
created to basically watch everybody in the city just so he could find this Joker guy. He didn't even try. He's like, all right, I got a lot of money. Let's just make technology.
That speaks to the urgency. But he did pull fingerprints. It showed him trying to be a detective, but
it was real weak. It's like his detective work has always been real weak in these movies. They don't really focus on that as much. The new Batman does a pretty good job for the most part, but then again, it's just it becomes this like, all right, we got to end this movie. Let's just have him find him.
In Dark Knight Rises, there were two things that bothered me as we get into the bad parts of Batman. First of all, the detective thing with Selina Kyle, it doesn't show him trying to figure out who she is. Like, he just automatically knows who she. Like, it doesn't show the whole process of him trying to figure out how she got in and cracked his safe and stole his pearls and all that. So that was kind of dumb. I didn't buy the whole the woman. I forget her name. Ra's al Ghul's daughter. What's her?
Oh, Talia al Ghul.
Yeah, I didn't buy that storyline at all, because they hooked up. Like, I feel like that's taking it a little step too far in the role play if you're her.
In the books, in the comics, they do. They have a son, Damian Wayne, and he becomes the Robin later on, right? He's they draw on the source material. And my problem with a lot of these movies is they draw on it, but then they take creative license with it, right? So the Bane storyline, where he breaks the bat, right? That's a whole comic series called Nightfall.
I remember that.
That itself could be its own movie, right? But they basically have him recover from a broken back in no time at all.
Yeah, it made no sense either to I'm going to torture the police and stuff and keep everybody underground for a month. It was just bad writing. There's these scenes where random people that are fighting Batman just fall down without ever being touched. To me, it was Nolan, has a contract for this last movie.
Let me get this done.
Let me get this done so I can do Interstellar and Inception and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I love the movie as a whole. I watch it, it's fun, but I can't think too much about it because
Yeah.
it's
I mean, that's like that with a lot of the superhero movies. I mean, if you try to go into it expecting Oscar-worthy stuff, you're going to be disappointed.
Batman v Superman. This one is there's a couple of thoughts I have on this. The theatrical version I don't think is that great. The full extended version, which is like 3 hours and 15 minutes long, it's a little harder, it's a little darker, it's got some of that extra nightmare footage.
Yeah.
It's got more like blood. It's just got more brutal fighting and action and violence. I think that's really good. Jesse Eisenberg was horrible and ruins the whole thing for me, and I find myself fast forwarding over his scenes.
So, like, I wouldn't even blame Eisenberg for that. That's the casting. Because Lex Luthor doesn't need to be this whiny, crazy guy, right?
Right. It could. I mean, imagine the character from Breaking Bad, Heisenberg.
Yeah,
like,
Walter
White.
Walter White, or like Bryan Cranston, like that actor. Like I've always wanted him to be Luthor.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen, but that would have been perfect because he's a maniacal, he's calculating, he's intelligent. Like Eisenberg was just like crazy. Like he's he played Zuckerberg as if Zuckerberg became Lex Luthor.
Yeah. How do you? I mean, you can't be that crazy and also that successful. I feel like
No, it doesn't work, right? That's more Riddler type stuff, right? He would have made a good Riddler, honestly. Like yeah, I mean, but it was a miscast thing. And then for me, the problems with that were trying to like finesse in this whole like dark side is coming. Building up to like the whole Justice League fighting Steppenwolf. I get where he was going, I get what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
But then he was also trying to mix in like the whole Injustice storyline. It was trying to combine a bunch of storylines into one, and it's like, dude, just pick one.
Yeah, a lot of fan service that didn't really pay off.
Yeah, it was a mess, and like it was gonna be a mess, and I'm glad they stopped it because it was not gonna go well. Some people will like swear up and down that Snyderverse is the best.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to argue that because those fans are crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just it was going in a lot of different directions. It was too much.
I did think Ben Affleck was pretty good as Bruce Wayne.
I didn't hate Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yeah, and the warehouse scene where Batman is trying to rescue Superman's mother.
A great fighting scene.
To me, that's my favorite Batman sequence of any of the movies. Like where he's, with the possible exception of Michael Keaton in Russia in The Flash, was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was just cool seeing Michael Keaton get to be able to do that with all the the modern technology of face swapping and letting the stunt guy do all the work or whatever. But
what about Henry Cavill as Superman?
I love him. I thought he was fantastic. I wish there had been more of those. Trying to think of the other thing that really bothers me about those movies is Doomsday. I thought Doomsday was the worst, and Steppenwolf. The worst villains.
Yeah,
they're too cartoony.
So Doomsday like could have been way better. Like a lot of people like bag on the Hulk and like when the original movie with the Abomination and like how they made him look. Doomsday was terrible, man. Like
awful.
He's so much more awesome in the comics.
Yeah.
And they made him just like this mindless beast that they created out of like this pool of whatever. The science was dumb. It was just I didn't really like the Doomsday. Steppenwolf, he didn't look like Steppenwolf. Like he just looked like big monster guy, right? I mean,
did you watch? I think you did watch the Snyder cut of Justice League, right?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
It was better than the original one, but again, the problem wasn't the movie itself. The problem was the buildup, and they suffered from not taking the time. They wanted to cash in while the superhero stuff was hot.
Yeah.
They probably did. They probably made good money on it, but it killed the universe because you just don't care about the characters. You don't know them well enough. I thought the Wonder Woman movie by itself was really good. The Aquaman movie was pretty good. Aquaman.
Have you seen the new one?
I have not seen the new one yet. Is it on streaming yet? I've been waiting for it to be on streaming.
I think it's on one of those like Fandango.
Yeah. So usually the DC stuff goes to Max.
Yeah.
I'll wait for it to be on Max to watch it. I don't have high hopes for it because it was basically like, the universe is done. Let's just make this movie because we have to.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
And then I just want to quickly shout out some cartoon ones. So, Reign of the Supermen, I thought was great. I know it's not a Batman one, but I think he has an appearance in there. And then there's Gotham by Gaslight,
Oh, yeah, I saw that one. It
which
was
was
pretty good.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Which is he's hunting Jack the Ripper, which
Yeah,
is really
yeah.
cool.
Like alternate realities. Like they've got a lot of those Batman stories where he's in different times.
Yeah.
Like they've got stories where he's like basically a caveman.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting that they've taken all these different paths with the characters to try to make them have different angles and facets and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Flashpoint Paradox. I got you to watch that.
Yeah, that was
That's
great.
basically what the Flash movie is trying to do. Doesn't quite do it the same.
Animated Batman is great, and honestly, we should talk about like the Arkham games too, because to me those
are awesome.
phenomenal. I was thinking about there's a 3-pack to get them for a Nintendo Switch now, and it's like $20.
Oh, yeah?
I'm thinking about getting it. I've been playing a lot of...
I don't think they'll be as good on the Switch, but yeah, if you don't have Arkham games, you don't get the Spider-Man games you get today.
Yeah.
Like the open world, exploring, little side missions where you get to beat up the bad guys, and like the combinations,
Yeah.
where you can try to string them all together. The stealth missions, really good game series. Kevin Conroy,
Oh, great. Yeah.
great
voice.
Batman. Mark Hamill, great Joker.
Mm-hmm.
One Batman that most people don't talk about, Diedrich Bader
From
The Brave and the Bold.
I don't think
You know Diedrich Bader?
No.
So he's you ever watch Office Space?
Yes.
And you got the neighbor,
The who?
dude,
Oh,
turn on channel 20.
That's
Diedrich Bader. He does Batman in Brave and the Bold.
It's a breast exam.
It's like, and the same guy in Napoleon Dynamite, the karate guy.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great in most
cool.
everything he does. He's hilarious, but he's Batman in The Brave and the Bold. Underrated Batman.
Very cool. By the way, happy belated birthday. How old are you now?
Old.
40.
46.
46.
Yeah.
So, one more and you pass JFK. Like it's I was thinking about that. You start once you get to a certain age, you start to pass people that didn't quite get a full run.
I'd like to think that I've accomplished more than JFK.
I mean, he only saved the world during the nuclear missile crisis.
I mean,
passed the civil rights. Well,
Marilyn Monroe. I
yeah,
mean,
he actually didn't pass the Civil Rights Act. That was Lyndon Johnson.
Lyndon Johnson, yeah.
But all right, that's it. We're the dudes.
We're the dudes.